Hello world. Today we are going to talk about mental health online. The reason for this streamer podcast is because today is World Mental Health Day, and so I decided to talk about um, mental health and specifically mental health online because I personally think that um, because we are spending more and more time online, this is one really important aspect of mental health, which is usually forgotten or rare people pay as much attention to it as I do. So today we're going to talk about that. Also because every year from when I started to write my blogs, on this day or near this day, I was actually writing about mental health online, specifically how we could recognize if someone needs help online and how we can help them, or how we can behave online so that we hurt as little people as possible, or rather how we behave online that we are trying to be more positive and more helpful to others rather than bully them or making them uncomfortable and things like that. So as always, this podcast or stream will be posted on Facebook, and then I will post it on YouTube, and you can always ask questions in the chat and I will try to answer them between my lecture or my saying. And if you are new to my page, be sure to check my group where you can actually interact with each other and post different topics so we can discuss them. Also, if you are top fan of mine, you can actually be in charge of helping me with those pages or get topics and questions uh, or send questions and topics to me before I make a poll or post about it. So, uh, firstly, I will try to explain a bit about online mental health because this is main topic of this stream or podcast, and then I will try to answer your questions. Your questions can be about online mental health or mental health in general. If you have a question about mental health or a comment about it. So, mental health online. The reason I decided to talk about this, like I said, is because we spend more and more time online. And when I am comparing real world and online world, I can see there are many differences. One of them is that online there are not so many rules or laws like we have them in real life. Also because it seems like online world is more international, while real life is more based on culture and countries. So if you are making something in one country or in another, you could be punished in one country, but you could be praised or not punished in other country. While online, it seems that there are no specific rules, and even if something happens, it still depends on a country how it deals with that. But because online world has lots to do with um, in online world you can actually hide your identity and place where you are coming from. It is more difficult to punish people or track them down, so many people actually hide behind fake names and fake identity, or basically they create new identity and they are bullying others and hurting others, and those things are difficult to track, but I guess they're becoming more and more, there is more and more awareness about it, so they're trying to find solutions. We basically have on different social media, we have ways to actually report things, or if something is wrong and doesn't follow the rules, it can be deleted or people can be banned. But still, that's mostly because of program or algorithm. So sometimes pictures or videos which are deleted are not as harmful as actually hate speech. For example, I am noticing that many things are deleted which are not breaking any rules, while some things like bullying and hate speech is present there, and even if people are speaking with their real names and they have open profiles and everything, nothing is done against them. So hate speech and bullying is actually really spread, and many don't do anything about it. While if you are cursing or if you are posting a picture which is maybe slightly inappropriate, you are immediately banned or punished other way. So this is one big problem, and because of that, many people online can actually bully each other, and many people can say things they actually think. So in real life nowadays you need to be careful what to say, because everything you say, even if the reason is that you're not educated enough or you didn't have contact to a certain group of people, people still think you are mean and you try to hurt them. So they accused you of doing mean things, so it's better to be silent. But in online world you can actually mostly say anything, but it still depends on the country and what you're talking about. But about when you speak about common people, your, I don't know, neighbors and friends and classmates, you can actually do anything. And because you have fake profile and you can use your fake profile from, I don't know, device in library or school, it is very difficult to track it. And it is also spreading so fastly that before something is actually done, the harm and damage is already there, and in some cases it's too late. We are still very slow when it comes to reacting like that. And in real life, yes, real life is fast, but in online world things are so fast that one trend, for example, can last for 1 to 3 hours, and one news can last 1 to 3 hours, and meaning one news about, I know, some, if someone says some bad things about a person, that can spread in minutes, and that person can see it, and things go really really fast. So fast like in real life, when you actually can hear news about you, mean news in a few days or even weeks. So that's the problem. It seems like online world is actually a really open one with not so many rules, and you can actually do anything, can hide behind different fake personalities, even change your country and so go on. Because of that, people can bully, and because of that, there is one positive, maybe positive effect. People can actually speak up about their problems. So if you go on Facebook and look around your friends, you might notice that some of your friends actually speak about their problems on their profiles, and some of them have open profiles. So it it is actually similar to diary, but everyone can read it. So with that, you can easily recognize with who has problems, because it seems that we speak about our problems and about others more online, maybe because we think our identity is hidden, maybe because we think nobody will read that, maybe because we feel more comfortable, because we mostly have online friends or something, or friends we can trust. Basically, we talk about those things. And if you are checking different profiles, you can recognize who has problems. Usually those who have problems or need help or want attention, they usually change their behavior. This is also true in real life. So if a person online is writing a lot and suddenly stop writing and doesn't post for days, weeks, months, something is wrong. On the other hand, if someone was posting once a month, once a week, and suddenly they're posting every minute, every hour, something is wrong. In first case, they probably want to isolate themselves. Um, in the second part, they probably want to um, they're looking for people to help them, or they're checking if others who they added on Facebook or other social media are actually looking at them and are on their side. Basically, they're checking if they still have friends. On the other hand, if they don't have a person to talk with, they're trying to talk with others on their profile. So any changes can be a sign that something is wrong, but it depends. For example, someone can't post online because there was natural disaster in their country and they didn't have electricity for so long. So, but it's better to check what is going on. Also, you can notice changes in their typing. If a person is using so many smileys and suddenly doesn't anymore, something might be wrong. On the other hand, they could be busy, but yeah, something could be wrong. Similar if they are changing their style of writing. If before they were talking a lot and now they are not talking a lot, something happened. Or if they were using informal speech and suddenly they're using formal speech, something could be wrong. You see, so you can notice that something is wrong and there are some changes. And usually I see that if a person has problems, and when I say problems, it means depression, anxiety, family problems, school problems, and so go on, they're also starting to share quotes. They can be anything from positive quotes to depressive quotes, or they start with really sad quotes and then continue to positive ones because they are trying to help themselves. Some prefer to use sad quotes to send message to people they are sad, depressed, and someone use positive quotes to cheer them up. Same with memes and videos and so go on. I also notice that when they start to make changes and suddenly talk about their problems, you will notice that suddenly they're starting to be charitable, meaning they're sharing posts about helping other people. I noticed that someone can post or share post about searching for pet who got lost or collecting money for someone. They basically are sharing so many things to help others, maybe to feel better, or to actually help them. I noticed that things happens. Also, many times if they are not posting anything, they also won't be replying to your messages, but it is still the best thing to talk to them. And I prefer, or rather, I advise you to talk about those problems in private. So they basically can say on their walls, I am depressed, everything is falling apart. But instead of you react to that post, because for that kind of people with problems, or everybody of us, it is important to be noticed. So you can like post, but or make short comment like stickers with hugging or something like that, but then try to contact them in private because it is more personal. They could tell you more, and you might be more relaxed to help as much as you can, because if you are helping on a post which is basically visible to everyone, or at least their friends, there can be lots of pressure, and I don't know, someone might attack you because in their opinion you are not doing a good job. So this needs to be done in private. um, and what to say to that kind of people, or to friends who need help? Basically, you can ask them how they're doing, or that you saw a post and you think about them. And usually it is the best thing to just listen and ask questions and try to concentrate as much on them. Sometimes you you can say about situation in which you were, which is similar, but better is to concentrate on that person, ask them questions how they are, and they will talk about their story, and maybe relax that way and ask them what to do. And usually we don't give, psychologists, we don't give advice, but try to create an environment in which they can think for themselves. And if we talk about advices, we ask them to choose one, or say that here is an advice, but if it doesn't work for you, you're not obligated to use it. But this one thing, it might help or might not help. But the best thing is to quickly react, because online world is really fast. They can post something that something is wrong, and if they don't have any likes, they will feel more and more depressed, and something else could happen that way. So it is really best to react quickly, and don't be afraid. Just ask them how they are. The one thing which is a myth is that if you, for example, if someone is suicidal, if you talk about suicide with them, they will surely end their lives, or be victim of suicide, but that's not true. Um, they are. It is best to talk about those things rather than they can think about it and relax that way. And you also gain lots of information if they are trying to do it, if they have a plan, so you can actually help to prevent that. But of course, at the end, we don't have a magic wand. We don't have any superpowers like they have in fairy tales, or superpower anime or movies. So it is best to try your hardest, but if something happens, then um, you did everything you could. And sometimes things cannot be prevented, even if you try the hardest. That's the sad reality of life. But you at least try. Try to help, try to talk to them. And if you do have problems, I know it is really convenient for you to write on your wall, or any social media you have beside Facebook, but that could backfire, especially if no one really replies to you. Because if you are in that kind of mood, maybe someone doesn't react or reply to you, you would start to think that everyone hates you, that nobody cares, and so go on. So it is better to find help either with a friend you can trust, or any professional help. Nowadays, there is lots of online professionals. Some of them are also working as volunteers and for free. And in English, there are lots of applications in which you can find a professional to help you. And of course, if anyone knows sites like this, you can list them on my page so others could find them. So it is better to seek help that way than post it on your wall or profile, because it depends. you can gain help that way and you would be feel much better. But on the other hand, if no one doesn't reply, it could backfire. So it's better that way. Also, from my personal experiences, it is better to talk one person to one person rather than in a group, because if you are in a group of people and try to talk about your problems, some might listen, some may not. So if you are in a group chat, it is the best way to contact someone in private rather than speak to everybody. Also, I noticed one really negative effect of the internet when in culture and society. Nowadays, when you start talking about your problems, especially what it bothers you on someone else, not maybe personality but behavior, people see it as passive aggressive, which is actually not, because you're not trying to hurt them in passive way, but you're trying to explain why you feel like that. And I noticed that at some point when I was trying to help people, I realized if someone said, oh, I'm depressed because that person is not communicating with me and I want them to be friends with me, someone start to say that's really passive aggressive. But in real, but it's what actually that someone said their thoughts and how they felt, not to hurt anyone, but actually to help themselves and express themselves. So sometimes talking about problems can bother someone, so it is good to be careful who to tell and with who to talk. So usually if you trust someone or if their professionals help you. I will try to think more about what's going on in online world. But yeah, you can easily spot so many depressed and anxious and suicidal people online. And I'm afraid mainly because in real life they don't have anyone to talk to because life is so fast. And in online world you can easily find someone who can relate to you. Um, So in one way, it is better, in my opinion, to create maybe a fake profile and talk about it, or write a story or write a poem rather than talking on your real life profile, because you know how people are, they will start to talk about you, and many people actually won't talk to you but rather talk to um, I don't know, talk how bad you are and so on. So I really find positive way of positive thing of having a fake profile. It is wrong, but you know, for someone who um, is anxious and depressed and can't talk about problems of their real life profile, that's the best way, I think. And many people who are anxious and so on, they have profiles with their nicknames or other names rather than the real life ones. Um, so yeah, this was, I think, a short summary of what I was writing those, I think, 2 years. And if you want to know more about online mental health, make sure to read my blogs, because I was explaining, first of all, how to spot and help people who have problems. And on the other hand, if you have problems, what to do. Um, if I will remember something else, I will then mention it. But I think so far this was the main thing. And now I will go through your comments. I apologize that I wasn't reading them, but I tried to firstly to explain about it and then try to answer your questions. So Liam was asking, I was wondering how I could help someone having suicidal thoughts. So I think suicidal thoughts are really common these days. And I was actually talking about suicide in one of my articles. I was analyzing an anime and manga called Orange, because in it, main character actually commits suicide, and then in the future, his friends send letters in the past asking them younger versions of themselves to help that person. And I was actually analyzing if they they went on the right way to help him, and how is about suicide in Japan, and on general how to recognize them. So if someone has suicidal thoughts, um, one interesting thing is that every one of us, it doesn't matter who you are, sometimes says to themselves, I want to die or I want to give up. This is actually a normal thing. The problem is when someone is repeating those thoughts all and all over again, every day, every hour, so much that they're basically exhausted from it, or they actually try to do something because of suicidal thoughts. So if you know someone, you talk to them, ask them about how they're feeling, if they tried to do something to themselves, if they are planning, because it is good to know what to expect. Because someone can have those thoughts, but they won't do anything to themselves. They are just thoughts, but those thoughts can be exhausting. And someone can actually do something harmful to themselves. So it's better to ask what is going on, what is happening, and if you think or you see that, or they think they aren't able to work out on those thoughts and they're hurtful to them, or they tried to commit suicide or harm themselves with cutting or something else, try to mention that they should look for help. With help, I mean professionals like clinical psychologists, therapists, and then it depends on a country. Some countries you need to ask your personal doctor about it, and they then give you contact, or they connect you with psychiatrists or psychologists and so go on. In some countries, you can actually search for help online or via cell phone, and they can contact you with facilities like this. In some cases, there are many facilities, organizations with mental health, and you can contact them. And then they will decide what to do, what treatment you need, if it is psychologist, clinical psychologist, or psychiatrist. It depends on what is behind those thoughts, or is it depression, anxiety, or something else. But either way, if someone needs help, it is if you're not professional, it is best to listen to them and give them support. And if you're really worried or see that they will do something to themselves, you can say, I'm worried that you might end your life and do something to yourself. So I suggest to search for help or something, but at the end, it's their own choice. So even if something happens, it's not your fault. That's what they decided to do, but you can give them support, talk to them, and so go on. And it really depends if they have suicidal thoughts, or are they have mental disorder, or is it just a thought, or what? So it is better to check first. Then Laila asked what's also the best way to spread awareness. One way to spread awareness is with social media, which nowadays is one top source or way to spread awareness, because everybody is on social media. There are lots of pages on Facebook One of them, for example, is for ADHD, which is spreading awareness in a form of short comics. So this is actually the best way to have short comics or memes or YouTube videos. For example, animations can be a really good way to spread awareness, or short cartoons. ACP Science, for example, I think is doing a great job in explaining things like anxiety and stress. Their channel is a science channel. They mostly cover, I think, chemistry and physics and biology. Biology and psychology not as much, but they still do. And of course, talk about it to your friends, to your family, in school. If you have a chance, you might do a project in school about it and spread awareness that way. If you're good at drawing, draw something and share it. I think sharing and spreading the word across the internet is the fastest way. And everyone can do it. Can also make a short video, like many YouTubers are talking about depression and about anxiety and so go on. And because they have so many followers, that can be easily spread across it. I think that many young people actually are more aware about it, also because they are online, and online it is talking about mental health has spread so much. It is basically everywhere. One other thing is, which in our country, in my college, in psychological department, we have our classes and lectures for public. There is actually a project, and every year around this day, World Mental Health Day, I think, they have lectures and workshops and so go on about certain topic. I remember once it was about online world. I think this year, I don't know what's the topic about this year, but basically they took a topic and they are spreading it and they open classes for everybody to see. So this is a good way, and they try to do it in things like they show a movie and talk about it, or they have interesting lectures students can apply and so go on. So if you have a chance to support things like that in project or in class, I think that's also a best way to spread awareness. Sadly, for many things, especially on media, I miss certain topics, like, but when I'm watching television or something, I see that they're talking about it more and more and more, about suicide, about depression, and so go on. So that's one thing. Yeah, I don't know if it is because I'm so much online and I see things online that I think that in online world it is more awareness than in real life. But I can tell you that in real life, if I look around myself, at least in my country, I don't know what it's like in other country. I'm sure that in Japan, because I'm also researching that, in Japan there is not many lectures and things about mental health in real life, but online it can be more. Um, this is reality, sadly. And for example, if I'm walking down the streets or trying to find a good lecture or a good class about mental health, there is not as much, at least in my country. Maybe in the main city, where students also have that project about mental health and awareness, but other around it, and if I ask people about it, not many know. So what I'm trying to do, if someone is asking me a question, it can be any question in real life, I will answer as much as I can on really interesting way. At least I'm trying to. So I can spread awareness more. So if someone asks, answer them as much as you know about it and spread awareness that way. Also, if you are courageous enough to talk about your experiences. So I actually noticed that awareness in real life is not as powerful, and also because we are running home work, and not many people, majority of people is not as active online as we think, as others are. So they can see it on television. Um, Sometimes I'm really grateful for that. But you know, half an hour on television a week, while on internet you have awareness every second. It that's a big difference, I think. Uh, and then Norbert also had comments when I was explaining about Facebook. And he said that another thing about posting in Facebook is that we basically want somebody to hear us. And yeah, I agree with that. We need someone to hear us. And it is sad, and someone can become more depressed if no one can see that. And if your post is empty and no one can react. So in a way, it is really dangerous to write it. But we might think that maybe someone will. And he also said that not to mention we have aggro-syntonic disorder, so it might be the same with moods and personality. And yeah, I agree. Nowadays, many are posting to get likes, and yeah, I also explained that. But you explained it in better way, in disorder way. Yeah, we want someone to notice us at any given time, and we want likes, we want to be noticed, and it is a problem, and moods and personality can really change quickly. Um, so yeah, and some I really find the positive. Many people are talking about negative sides of internet, and I agree there are really many negative sides like addiction or bullying or stealing identity of someone. But on the other hand, there is so much positive thing, especially yeah, like if you don't have friends in real life, or you have so many problems and you can't find yourself in your life, you can find yourself online. The problem arises when you're so much into online world that you are basically cut from real life, and that is, I think, becoming more and more a problem, because many people are more cheerful online, but in real life they're depressed, or they don't find anyone to talk with, or so on. But it is a good start, that you find someone, and then you overpower yourself that much that you can work on your problems and things in real life too. And also, spreading awareness is a positive thing of the internet, and searching for help, especially for those who have social anxiety or other problems, or they actually don't have any decent help in their own countries. Like Japan is one example, sadly, of it. And it is really difficult, and I don't know, we created another world online. On one hand, there is so much depression then there, because it seems no one is willing to talk about problems in real life. They don't listen. I don't know if there are that kind of generations of parents or friends, but that's a problem. On the other hand, it seems like many are trying to censor that sad and negative emotions, which are basically the basics of our emotions, as well as positive. So sometimes if someone is talking about their problems, many are like, oh, don't start with negativity, everything will be better, shut up, and so go on. And that can actually make a person so depressed and sad that they won't talk about their problems anymore. So on one hand, their profiles on which you see everything negative, from depression, from suicide, But on the other hand, there are profiles in which there is everything positive, like they have the best lives, but that's usually an illusion because many post only positive things online, but trying to keep negative things inside of their real lives. So this is also one negative side of social media because we are being compared to each other. You can see how much happy others are and feel down because of it. But on the other side, many things can help you. Uh, so that's one thing. Um, and I don't know, I think that there are benefits to have online friends. But you need to be skilled about it. You need to know which profile is fake and how much time and what to do until you actually start to talk about problems, and how to recognize that a person is a real person and not a bot or uh, some kind of person who is hiding because personality because he wants to hurt someone or do something. So, but if you have that kind of skill to recognize those kind of things, you can actually get a really good friends. The only problem is that you need to be that kind of person that uh, doesn't feel a need to actually meet up in real life as much, or doesn't really feel like to have physical connection with them all the time, because it also can be depressing if you cannot hug or talk in real life with some person. So it helps to chat and video chat, and if you're in the same country, visit each other, or if you are not, at least when you grow up, to visit each other. And I noticed that those kind of friendship are more deep and can last longer because online you can talk basically about everything. Nobody is really knowing you in real life unless you're talking to people from your country or your country is small. So you can tell them about everything and they basically judge you on your words and actions rather than how you look. I was actually reading that, I don't know, a few days ago somewhere, I don't remember, that in real life you are based on your how you look, and I don't know how much money you earn, in which school you are going, and so go on. But online, most people will just ask you which anime are you watching, which game are you playing, and they will talk about your personality, and suddenly you will talk about your deepest problems, and so go on. And also, if anything happens, you can easily block that person or report that person, while in real life, many things can happen, and maybe we feel a bit safer on the internet, but still it depends on a person and on generation and so go on. And Laila also said that she thinks it's also important to let others know it's safe to talk to you about anything, even they don't take it, it's always there for someone. I actually agree that, especially if you see someone has problems, or in general if you're in group of people or you have page or group, you can say that it's safe to talk about everything, and then you actually need to show that. Because from my experiences, because I'm helping many people online, and I was also helping some people with when they had suicidal thoughts and they actually thinking of ending their lives. When I was helping them, I did it spontaneously because I like to help and so go on, but others saw that, and when the other people had problems, they actually contacted me. So if you are the person who wants to help and says that you can talk about everything and I can help, you actually need to show that. You need to show that you're open minded, that you're kind and friendly, especially because many are really careful when it comes to online world, because you don't know who is behind the screen. But if you show how that people can talk to you and you can help, then many people can come to you. But remember, uh, this can be exhausting, especially if you're dealing with problems, or if you have a really busy life and so go on, and if you are trying to help many people, not professionally, that's not your job or something, it can be exhausting. But it still doesn't cost you at least to say a kind word or ask someone how are they. It doesn't need to be a full session or therapy, but it can be a kind word or ask question. But always remember that you also matter and that you need to be careful of your health and mental health, especially because if mental health goes down, also normal health, physical health goes down, and vice versa. If, for example, we have cancer, our mental health can decline really fastly as well. They are both connected, and sometimes I'm still angry and sad that mental health is not portrayed as similarly as physical health, and many are still thinking that if someone has disorder or problems or anything, they are rather weak, or they're seeking for attention, or that computers and phones are the cause of everything, um, or that teenager is or adolescent is moody because every adolescent and teenager is moody and it's something normal. That's actually not normal. And if you see sudden changes in someone, you know that something is going on. And yeah, someone said they are not really comfortable about it, even in real life. You can go to psychologists, but if you're not comfortable about it, that's why when you are going to therapy, the psychologists and others try to establish a good environment. And sometimes they spend so many hours and days just to establish a good bond as psychotherapist or psychologist and client, so you can actually say something. So sometimes people who are not really knowledgeable about psychology would, if they would see a therapy session in which therapist is talking and the client is completely silent and it goes for 1 hour, the second hour, and nothing changes, well, a normal person would say that's a waste of time. But you cannot be sure, because if the psychotherapist tries so well and to show them that it's okay to talk about them, maybe one day they will speak up about the problems, because everything matters. Even if you say hello to someone, that word can matter. And I think many don't realize that psychology is not, sometimes it is only about talking, but with talking you can do a lot. And sometimes I'm really angry how people think as a psychologist, for example, I should do exercises or do, I don't know what kind of things to help, but sometimes only a talk or maybe 5 minutes of silence, because some people can't stop or rest even for a minute, can actually help. And I really wish that psychology here, especially in schools, would be a bit different. Because I think in my country and some other countries, psychology is still not recognized as science and a powerful tool to help. Um, so Liam asked, how do you feel about some artists glamorizing depression and self-harm in art, for example, Tumblr? This is also in anime. Many anime glamorize depression and self-harm. I personally believe those artists actually are doing that because they're trying to help themselves. Because many, I don't know if any of you watched video I was sharing about Japan and how they have some artists who are writing stories and comics about suicide, and they said that is actually helping them. I think majority of those artists actually don't try to glamorize depression per se or for money, but actually to help themselves. And I think for many people that kind of art actually also helps. Now, the problem arises if you have non-critical thinker who sees that and thinks that suicide and depression is good, and they would try to kill themselves because that comics or art show that there is a good side of suicide. And for a person who is suicidal, suicide is actually a positive thing, right? So that problem can arise. And with that kind of artist, I would like them to at least write that the suicide is not really the answer, the way that they need to seek help and try more. But they try to express themselves through art. Either they have problems or something. So I see that more people are actually helping themselves that way and trying to spread awareness on weird way, not not advertise it. But we also don't know. So I don't know. I actually really think that's a positive art, but as I said, it depends who is watching and reading, because someone can find, I don't know, if there is art about suicide which shows that suicide is a really positive thing, someone can actually start to think that and at the end their lives. But I still think maybe not as many people do that. So I think that art is mostly for the artist, like that Japanese artists who are trying to spread awareness through comic books. Same with memes who are really depressed and really edgy and really suicidal and things like that. Many people are sharing them and liking them because they find themselves in them, and they said, "Oh God, I also think about that." And that can make you feel a bit better that you are not alone. On the other hand, I don't know what else can happen. So I think it is a really interesting question for a research. How do artists feel about that kind of things? How are people who actually have depression or self-harm feel about that kind of things? And how do people who never really were in touch with depression or self-harm are feeling about it? And I think the last group of people would be absolutely against it. The artists would say that it's helping them, and those who are actually in depression or self-harm can actually, I think they actually can find themselves in that kind of stories. It can help them. At the same time, it can make things stronger, but I think that more people can find help in them. And in anime, one interesting thing is in anime called Mahou Shoujo Site, which is an anime I actually don't recommend if you are younger than 18, even, or rather, even than for younger than 20, I think, or 21. And it deals with lots of things like bullying, suicide, and it glamorizes it or glorifies some of it. So it is very dark anime, and even if you're an adult, if you don't like that kind of topics and they will hurt you in any way, don't try to watch that anime. But that's one example of it. In it, we can find something about self-harm and so go on. So that's my opinion, and in therapy, many therapies are art or writing therapies, so you can express yourself that way. And if we are looking at, some people think glamorizing depression, self-harm is a topic of today's society. It's not. If you're looking at old novels, one example which actually can concern me, because as I said, I think that that kind of art is helpful, but at the same time I'm worried, because if someone who is not critical thinker or has many problems and really sees suicide as final solution, that can be, or has other problems, that can be a push into the suicide and so on. So um, there was actually, in literature, there was actually an era. I don't know how it is called in English, but it was around, I think, 19th century. It is connected also with Oscar Wilde, I think, or I'm not so sure, but there was a book, uh, and that era was all about romance and depression and things like that. There was a book called Letters for Walter, I think it is in English. I translated it from my language. I think it is German. So in that era, they were mostly talking about romance and depression and so on. Um, that book was actually talking about person who uh, a person who was sending letters, I think, to a friend or so on, and at the end they killed themselves. And at that era, everyone who was reading that book and had some kind of problems, they identify with the character so much that they killed themselves. I don't know why we aren't talking about this, but I remember that from school, and it was in 19th century, I think, and that's one example what can happen if a person can identify with them. And yeah, like I said, like Liam also said, that some can find it distressing and disturbing if they treat it as a good thing to harm yourself. The sad, the darkest, I am aware of the darkest sides of psychology and so on. So the darkest side is that people actually think is a good thing to harm themselves, because when they harm themselves, they actually feel pleasure and feel better. So for them, it is a positive thing. Some would actually think, why would someone kill themselves? Isn't that a negative thing? Because you end your life and you don't know what else, and then you hurt your friends and hurt your family. But for that person, suicide can be the only positive thing they have. It is really sad. And for that kind of people to find something, at least something that could keep them up and make them feel fulfilled and happy, it is a really difficult thing. Um, and yeah, if you look at it, it does sound wrong and everything, but for them, you actually need to be really down to feel that this is a positive thing. I guess many artists, and in Tumblr specifically, they are actually using their art for therapy. Same with songs, because many songs also talk about that kind of things. And yeah, like Lila said, it can be called vent art. Ma- you know, Many do that. They write song stories, but nowadays, since there is internet, many also share it with other people, either to vent. It seems like we are venting online more and more, even if anyone sees you. I don't know if people on general society is looking for more attention that way, or they're trying to spread awareness about it. But yeah, many people then, if they went it in their stories, they post it. But if you look at the old literature and songs like Shakespeare or some others, um, then you can see that it is not today's thing. So yeah, I will be here for 15 more minutes, I think. Also because my battery will die soon. And Liam asked, what is a mental disorder you would like to learn more about? One is dissociative identity disorder. This is one of disorders which is not researched well, and many don't know how to treat it. They're treated wrongly, and I'm really interested in that. If you don't know what that is, its old name was called multiple personality disorder. So in a way you have two or more personalities. I would also like to learn more about suicide and all disorders which are connected to them, such as depression, anxiety. And also one disorder I discovered today, and I hope I will post about it on my page. I don't know exactly the name, but it is similar to Chunibyo, which is in Japan. I was researching Chunibyo and write about it on one of my articles, but I didn't find if there was any disorder which connects to it, and now I finally found it. It is actually a disorder in which a person is spending their most of their lives in fantasy, and they are trying to explain world around them in fantasy. So, and they are trying to be there for many reasons, and it is also connected to schizophrenia and other disorders. It can be or it cannot be. And when I found this, I was very surprised. I was searching this for work actually, and I think want to learn more about it, especially how to help. And as a psychologist, sometimes I think about certain things that majority of psychologists are not thinking, and then many disorders are yet to be discovered or are not really researched. But my main topic is, of course, suicide, because I was also helping some in not as professional, more in private life, but I try to be as professional as possible because many people cannot afford psychologist or someone to talk to. So suicide, of course, and yeah, the dissociative personality disorder. And Lala said, also, what could you do for someone who just speaking about the subject can make them feel worse? So if I understand correctly, if you have a person who has problems and then you are trying to talk about, for example, suicide, and they start to feel worse or worse. Um, yeah, that can also happen. We learned somewhere, I think in classes, that sometimes therapy and things like that and talking about problem all over again is not helping because it feels like you are trapped in that problem. So when you find a person who is trapped and they are making feel worse, try to talk about other things, not about the problem itself, but about, I don't know, their strong the things they like. So try to talk about things which can support them or which can help them, basically which fields they feel the strongest, what they can do, or what they like. I think that distraction can also help. So they distract themselves a bit from the problems, and then when they are ready, you can still talk about that subject again. So if they think they are too much, then try to do something else, something fun. If they are, I don't know, if they like sport, invite them for sport. If they like anime, talk about anime, and try to distract them as much as possible. Because yeah, if you're thinking about the problem, also those techniques, relaxation techniques, can help. But still, for some they help, for some they cause more problems, because when they are relaxing themselves, they're actually not doing anything about the problem. But yeah, it is still a good way to relax and then work on the problem. Yeah, so you talk about more positive things they have accomplished, what they can accomplish, what they like, which are strong points, are they good singers, writers. Talk about really positive things. For example, if you know that they are going to, I don't know, AnimeCon or to vacation, talk about that. Talk about those things. Of course, sometimes those people could they find negative things in everything, but try to show them, or if not showing them, try to um, try to at least tell them uh, about strong points, and so go on. So I think my battery is dying right now, and I don't have a charger with me. So I will need to end this, and I hope I will finish it before my battery dies out. I think I talked about lots of things today, and tomorrow I will have another stream. This stream will be about psychology of music, as Lila suggested. And I will try to answer things about music. I will talk about anime and music, because there are so many musical anime which are also good examples of mental health and mental disorders. But yeah, because my battery will die out. Thank you all for coming here with me, coming here on my stream. And always remember that you matter and you can accomplish everything, and you can help others, and I hope we can build like a good community of helping others. So thank you for everything, and I will see you in my next stream, which is tomorrow.